Hello everyone, my name is Ashwini and welcome back to the channel. If you're preparing for DevOps interview in 2026, this video is for you. We'll cover 20 real-world scenario-based DevOps interview questions which are commonly asked for roles involving Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, Azure AKS, CI/CD and production support. They are not theoretical questions, but they are production incidents kind of troubleshooting scenarios that interviewers use to evaluate how you think under pressure. And by the end of this video, we'll understand not only the answers but also the mindset of the interviewers expect from a DevOps engineer. So let's get started. So today's agenda is we will cover Kubernetes troubleshooting, Terraform failures, Azure AKS incidents, CI/CD security related issues, monitoring and production support scenarios, and even some lead level DevOps questions. What are interviewers mindset or what interviewers expect? So one mistake many of us make is focusing only on commands. So interviewers are not looking for someone who can memorize kubectl commands, but they want to know whether you can actually troubleshoot. How do you identify if there is any business impact? Can you find the RCA causes, and can you prevent the issues from happening? So there is a simple framework that works in almost every scenario, which is first you have to access what is the impact, then you will investigate why it has happened, you will perform the mitigation, you will go ahead and recover whatever the issue has happened and prevent it from reoccurring. So if you structure your answers this way, you will sound very much more experienced and confident. So we'll start with the scenarios. Suppose we have 503 errors after deployment. So imagine a deployment completes successfully, but users suddenly start seeing errors, and especially the 503 error. So what we'll have to do, the first thing, we'll have to understand if there is any business impact because of this. If it's a P1, P2, or what exactly is the business impact because of this. If the issue is affecting all the users or it is only affecting a subset or a group of users, that we'll have to find out first. Next, we will check the Kubernetes deployments. What is the pod health? We'll have to check the logs, readiness probes, and liveness probes. Why we have to do that is because the deployment has been completed successfully, but there are errors. And in order to find the errors, we will have to see the logs, the liveness probes. So if we understand if the previous version was a stable one and the production impact is high, then we can do a rollback initially because this will be the quickest way we can restore the service. A small tip, interviewers generally like hearing the words like rollback, root cause analysis, monitoring, and preventions because they are used in real world scenarios. The second question would be OOM killed pods. A very common Kubernetes related interview question involves out of memory killed pods. OOM killed pods means the container exceeded its memory limit. Hence, it is out of memory killed pods. The application may start normally, but after a few hours, memory usage will increase until Kubernetes will kill the container. In this case, investigate what is the cause of the memory, like what is the cause of memory falling short. So, if there is any memory leak, are there any resource limits? If there are any application logs, you can investigate in it. You can go ahead and see the monitoring dashboards like Grafana and Prometheus and investigate further. So in this scenario, whenever you get a question related to out of memory killed, you can always mention a command which is kubectl top pods. So kubectl top pods will give you all the details of the running pods and what exactly uh, has caused it. So you can go ahead and see the resource request and the limits and accordingly further investigate with describe pod. We'll go ahead with the Terraform interview question. A Terraform apply got failed in midway. So you wrote the code, you did a Terraform apply command. So now the infrastructure should get generated, but instead of getting the infrastructure generated, the Terraform failed. So Terraform failures are common in cloud environment. So for example, there is a situation written over here. Some Azure resources created, some resources are missing, state files inconsistent, Terraform plan. These are the commands. So then like the situation is like some Azure resources got created after the apply, some resources got missing, and the state file is not consistent. So what we will do in such case? So a beginner may manually start deleting everything and make it a fresh, but that is not advised at all. Nothing should be manually deleted or created because this will cause a drift. So a DevOps engineer should first analyze a Terraform state. So use the commands which are given: Terraform plan. Terraform plan, you will see what changes have been made. Terraform state list, that will show the state of the and then we have Terraform show. So the goal is to bring Terraform state and the actual infrastructure back into sync before making the changes. So best practices: never manually delete resources, validate the Terraform state, import if there are any missing resources. So because after applying the changes in the situation, some of the resources were created and few were missing. So the missing resources might have got created which are in Azure. So you can import those missing resources, resolve the drift. If there is any drift, like the manual changes are different and the current state file is different, then you can resolve the drift. What are these best prevention techniques in this case? First of all, we should have a remote backend. We should have state locking features and code review processes. If the question comes up with regards to security, then it is very important because it is becoming a major focus in DevOps interviews. So CI/CD security issues. Imagine we have a database passwords which are visible in the pipeline logs and developers have unrestricted access, especially in the production. So in such a case, like this is what is observed. Like the passwords are visible in the logs. Developers have admin rights wherein they should not have an admin right. They should have a reader right or a contributor right, or direct production deployments they are going instead of going to static code or acceptance testing environments. Then what is the solution that we would go ahead and do? So we would use secret management, implement RBAC. RBAC is role-based access control, and we should have approval gates in the pipelines like the push and the pull request, and then we should have the secure pipelines. So for doing this, for achieving it, we can make use of Azure Key Vault for storing the password. We can give least privilege access and environment separation. Now for Azure Kubernetes services, nodes are running at 90% CPU. 90% CPU means it's a high consumption. So suppose we go ahead and see in the Azure monitor, and we are able to see now that the AKS node CPU is utilizing 90% above. Pods are healthy, but users are reporting a very slow application performance. So application becomes slow because of 90% of CPU use. We won't find any application error because it is working fine. The pods will look healthy. So in that case, we will first go ahead and find out using the command kubectl top nodes and kubectl top ports. So generally this is a capacity issue. This is like an application performance issue. The application is slow. So when we use the kubectl top node command and the kubectl top ports to identify resource consumption, we are able to determine whether the issue is caused by increase of a traffic sudden, like why there was a spike, or because if there is any resource limits, it is not efficient to take to workloads, that we will be able to see after running this command. And the prevention or the fix to such issues are, we can scale it. So scaling can be done through HPA, that is horizontal pod autoscaler, and cluster autoscaler. Often this is a solution whenever we come across such production environment issues with CPU high utilization or AKS nodes running at high CPU. Now all the changes have been made, but after the deployment we are not able to see the changes. It's a very common interview question. Deployment succeeds, but users still see the previous version. So the current version is not to be seen. Now what can be the possible causes for that? First of all, when we do the investigation, we will be able to see the rollout status by using the rollout that we have done with the kubectl. With the cube like with the Kubernetes rollout history, we will be able to see what is the history. Then we will select the service selectors, ingress configuration, and Helm releases. We will be able to see what was the version that was deployed. Now, what can be the causes for this? Service selectors, ingress routing, caching, or we have incorrect image tags that may have resulted for the new version not to be communicated. So often we have to verify the rollout history, what kind of image versions are there, whether it is a correct image version, like instead of version 2, version 1 has been written in the file, or the service mappings and the Helm releases are not proper. So that can be one of the reasons. And the fix is validate the deployment, update the routing, and clear the caches. We'll go ahead with the next scenario, which is database connectivity or database connection failure. Uh, the scenario has an error like connection refused. Now, how we will investigate? We will verify the database status. We will check secrets, and we will validate DNS resolution, review the firewall rules, check network security, NSG configuration. So this would be few of the investigation steps we would do. This demonstrates a structured troubleshooting. And in order to do that, we can use the commands like kubectl execit in the pod name bash ns lookup database host telnet database. So this will validate the DNS resolutions, review the rules, check the NSG configuration. And in order to prevent happening of a connectivity failure, we can keep monitoring in place. We can have connectivity checks regularly, and we can have secret rotation. Suppose if pods are stuck up in a pending state. Now we have pods which should be running, but then we can see like instead of running, the pods are in the pending state, and the Kubernetes is unable to schedule it. The scheduling is failing because it is showing in the pending state. So we will first use the command kubectl describe pod and review the events. So we can see kubectl get nodes, get PVC, and we will be able to review the different events. Then we'll understand what are the causes, what exactly led to this. It can be either insufficient CPU, insufficient memory, there can be node affinity issue, taint and tolerations, and storage problems which can lead to pod in the pending state. Then the event section usually reveals the root cause. What solutions we can give? We can scale the nodes, we can adjust scheduling rules, and fix the storage binding. Now, if we have Kubernetes deployment, this will be like Kubernetes deployment strategies. How do we do the deployment? Like interviews often ask about deployment strategies that you're using with Kubernetes. So we have uh, three which we can say. We have blue-green deployment, we use rolling update and canary deployments. So rolling updates is gradually replacing old pods, and blue-green uses two separate environment for fast rollback and very low downtime. So one is available environment and the other goes down, and then it replaces. And canary deployments expose a small percentage of users to new version before the full rollout. So interview tip is that we need to understand like which strategy should be used, and when we have to use this, and it is extremely important to understand the scenarios when in which scenarios we generally use this kind of strategies. Monitoring and alerting. So no production environment should operate without monitoring. A strong monitoring stack includes having Azure Monitor in place, Prometheus, Grafana as the tools, log analytics and application insights. All this have a very strong monitoring solution. So the purpose is not just having a visibility, but also having proactively alert system in place so that before the customers are impacted, we get the alerts and accordingly we can have the fix as soon as possible. Few Docker scenarios. Um, Docker interviewers can ask like container crashes, persistent storage, networking, registry authentication, image optimization. I have a full video on Docker related series which has in detail explanation with these topics. You can go ahead and watch that video also to get a deep dive on this, and always be comfortable troubleshooting using Docker logs, Docker inspect, and Docker stats. So you will understand how to deal with these kind of questions. I'll discuss few of the Kubernetes commands which are also used in interviews. So these are most frequently used troubleshooting commands. And instead of memorizing these commands, understand when exactly we need to use them. For example, if you are using a kubectl describe pod, so this is often the first command whenever we are diagnosing pod issues because it will describe inside the pod what exactly is happening. Terraform commands. Terraform is most in-demand infrastructure as a code nowadays, and interviewers frequently expect us to have familiarity at least with one IAC infrastructure as a code tool. So we need to understand few aspects of Terraform like Terraform initializing, Terraform plan, apply, import, validate, and state commands. Understanding Terraform state is often more important than memorizing the syntax. Now, for Azure focused DevOps role, common interview topics which includes are AKS architecture, node pools, RBAC, Azure Monitor, Manage Identity, Application Gateway, Azure Key Vaults, and private endpoints. These areas appear frequently in cloud focus interviews. In case if you're going ahead as a DevOps lead in a new project, then what you would do in your first 90 days. So the strong answer can include you will go ahead with a stabilization first, monitoring security, CI/CD implementation, governance, and cost optimization. That should be the total leadership and strategic thinking in case if you're going ahead with a new project setup. So remember this framework whenever you're answering any interview questions. You have to first access what is the impact. Then the second thing is to investigate the issue, have a mitigation, recover, and prevent it from happening again. So this structure can be applied to almost every DevOps scenario or interview question. The final takeaway is um, you have to think like a DevOps engineer, and we discussed troubleshooting, production thinking, few of automation, reliability and security concepts, and continuous improvement. If you found this scenario based interview questions and tips useful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who are preparing for the DevOps interview. Let me also know in the comments which scenario you faced in real production environments and how did you resolve it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next DevOps learning session. Happy learning.